We're doing a series of neighborhood tours, and we're now in South Holyoke of Holyoke, Massachusetts. And this tour here will be around the streets, defining the boundaries, and also telling people where institutions are along the way. There's a lot of them. We're definitely in the Canal District, and the boundaries are the Connecticut River and the Third Level Canal to the east, and we're approaching that. You can see in front of us the former chemical mill owned by the Newton brothers, and now part of mostly Hazen and University Products. It's also defined towards the south by the Third Level Canal. It's defined towards the west by the First Level Canal, and then its only boundary that is not water is towards the north, and there is defined by Appleton Street. So this neighborhood is very heavily former factories, former mill factory housing by the canals, and also by a few churches and a few parks, and we'll hopefully see some of that. All the buildings on the left are former mill house, and all the buildings on the right are former factories and still are factories. And this neighborhood was always the poorest neighborhood in Western Massachusetts. It still is. 170 years of Holyoke's history. It's not only the poorest neighborhood of Holyoke, it's also the poorest neighborhood in all of Western Massachusetts. And that's because it used to be the poorest of the mill workers, and now that it's become more of an ethnic neighborhood. It's still very poor. And we're going to try to stay along a portion of the boundaries, but we're going to have to cut in at some point along Appleton Street. And then we're going to cut in towards where the parks and churches were. Okay, so now we're passing by the last part of the Third Level Canal. On the left is the Springfield Photomont Mill. On the right was Riverside and Mill and the Riverside train station. And then the Hampton Paper Mill, which was owned by the same family for 140 years until last year. And then we're starting to pass by the other mills that were in this area, including the Marvelous Mill, which made Marvel paper, and then what's left of the Dean Pump, which became Worthington Pump. And this is part of Appleton Street many people don't know about. This was an industrial park, the second industrial park of Holyoke. And on a little street called Winter Street to the left is a Eureka Chart Company, and down there. And then on the left, immediately left, is a company where they made dandy rolls. And the dandy rolls were the watermark papers into the paper. And in the distance on the left is Perkins Mill, where they made tissue paper. And this boundary is on the flats of Holyoke. To the south is the Springdale neighborhood, and to the west is the Churchill neighborhood. Okay, what we're going to do now is fairly cut in and see what's inside of the insides of South Holyoke. We're going to go onto Crescent, and then now quick bear right onto Clement Street. And there used to be tenement houses upon tenement houses. A lot of them are gone. Some are still around. Some are being replaced. So it was thickly settled with a lot of worker houses and tenement homes. On the left is the former Precious Blood Rectory, made with a beautiful dome. And the Providence Ministry owns buildings down here, including the one on the left, which is the former Park School, and then the convent for the Precious Blood School nuns. And then we're going by a park, and this was the Hamilton Street School, and then Precious Blood High School, and now it's Carlos Vega Park, named after a social justice worker within Holyoke. And it's a nice little cozy park. Formerly, the congregation Rodney Shalom Synagogue was on the right, and then also on the left here, where the benches are, was a Lutheran church, and that was taken down. And so you can see the insides are a nice little cozy park. And then we'll do one more sweep around only. And if you're thinking all these houses equal poverty, you're right. They were just filled with people. Okay, the Morgan Elementary Schools on both sides of the road in front of them, especially on the left. And the return hall is on the right. That's a German. This is a half German neighborhood, half Quebec neighborhood, and a sprinkling of other groups like Greek and Jewish. There's also the Greek church on Main Street through here. There was a fire station. And my granduncle lived on the street to our right. I don't have to point down there. The building's still there. He lived there from 1900 to 1930. And there's one more thing I want to point out to you that's very special. On the left is a brand new building they just made, this year finished. And then on the left at this corner here is a convent for the nuns. I already told you about the Park Street School. And we're going to end right at a place where there was a horrible fire in the year 1875. It killed 71 people within 20 minutes. And that's on the immediate left, right across here. There's now a little garden for people in the area. And I have a separate stop on one of my tours here. So I hope you visit this place. Now across the street from here, it starts in the street, and right in front of that mill that you see there was the Jolly machine shop where they made a lot of the turbines. So this is very mill-oriented, canal-oriented, tenement houses, and a lot of tragic stories, as you can imagine. So thank you for coming on this stop.